Growing up in the southwestern corner of Virginia, nestled on the borders of Tennessee and Kentucky, I was always surrounded by tales of ghosts and otherworldly encounters. As a youngster, I dismissed these stories as nothing more than fanciful tales spun by the locals to add a dash of excitement to our otherwise quiet town. Little did I know that my skepticism would be shaken to its core one fateful night. It was after a church youth service when the inexplicable unfolded before my very eyes. The night air was crisp, and a faint chill lingered as I dropped my cousin home. With the company of my friends Cody and Kirkland, we embarked on the journey to see them safely to their homes. Kirkland's abode perched atop a mountain, and Cody's residence lay on the other side, creating a route that traversed the eerie shadows of the night. As we ascended the mountain road, a peculiar unease settled in the air. Cody, with a furrowed brow, suddenly exclaimed, "Did you all see that guy on the side of the road?" Bewildered, Kirkland and I exchanged glances, neither of us having glimpsed anyone in the darkness. Cody described a man wearing an orange shirt and camouflage shorts, armed with a flashlight. We chuckled, assuming it to be Cody's imagination running wild or a playful attempt to spook us. However, Cody's insistence persisted, his gaze fixated on an unseen figure. Faced with his seriousness and a tinge of fear in his eyes, I proposed turning the vehicle around to prove there was no one there. Surprisingly, Cody agreed, and I obliged, curiosity mingling with a growing sense of trepidation. As we rounded a curve, Cody's excitement turned to outright panic. "There he is! There's the man," he shouted, pointing towards an indistinct figure wielding a flashlight, its silhouette dancing on the ground. A chill ran down our spines. Before we could comprehend the bizarre sight, another vehicle approached, its dim headlights revealing an empty roadside. The man had inexplicably vanished, not a trace of him left behind. Shaken and bewildered, we hastily retreated to my mom's house, where Cody recounted the surreal encounter. To our surprise, my mom found the entire tale amusing, laughing uncontrollably at the ghostly spectacle we had witnessed. Undeterred, we returned to the scene, but the mysterious man remained elusive. My mom, seemingly unfazed, suggested alternative routes home, yet the mystery lingered. Cody, haunted by the memory, would sporadically catch glimpses of the man he dubbed the flashlight feller, each encounter ending with the eerie disappearance of this spectral figure. To this day, the incident remains an unexplained enigma, etching the belief in ghosts into the very fabric of my reality. The mountain road, once a familiar route, now harbors the lingering uncertainty of the supernatural, forever altering my perspective on the unseen forces that may dwell in the shadows of our world. When I was 13 years old, I lived in a small town of just 6,000 people. Our quaint cul-de-sac offered a sense of security, everyone knew everyone, and it felt like a haven. I was given strict instructions: never venture 4 houses away from my own, and stay away from the mysterious woods nearby. Despite these warnings, my friends Michael, Shelley, and Connie made daily visits, and together, we'd explore every nook and cranny of our neighborhood. One day, fueled by teenage curiosity and a desire to break free from our routine, we decided to investigate the forbidden woods. After constructing a formidable fort near a stream, we welcomed 2 boys, Craig and Daniel, to join our escapades. Bored with our usual adventures, they proposed venturing deeper into the woods. Daniel, being 15, declared himself the leader, ensuring our safety. As we trudged through the thickets, Daniel spotted something ahead. Intrigued, we followed until we stumbled upon an old, seemingly abandoned cabin. Despite its dilapidated state, I was fascinated. Daniel, fueled by a rebellious spirit, attempted to break in. Restless, I circumvented the cabin, only to trip over a hidden piece of wood leading to a concealed door. Excited by the prospect of discovering a basement, I called my friends over. Shelley and Daniel joined me, and together, we lifted the hatch, revealing an ominous abyss below. Despite the eerie atmosphere, Daniel insisted on going first for our safety, citing fear of my brother's wrath. Reluctantly, I agreed, and as Daniel descended, an indescribable malevolence settled in the air. Moments later, Daniel shouted that we should see something. An unsettling feeling gripped me, and as I explored, I noticed Daniel's discomfort. He claimed to have never been there before, but something felt off. The basement exuded an unsettling aura, with hints of decay and the stench of death. Suddenly, a noise froze us in place, a chilling laughter that sent shivers down my spine. Daniel, now a statue, mumbled incomprehensibly before shoving me towards the stairs, urging me to escape. Confused and terrified, I clambered up as he yelled for me to go. Once I reached the surface, Daniel yanked me out, and we ran, the echoes of malevolent laughter haunting our escape. Reunited with our friends, Daniel warned of the unseen danger, prompting a panicked sprint through the woods. As we navigated the terrain, a familiar voice cut through the chaos, my dad. Carrying me to safety, he and my brother emerged, rescuing us from the unknown terror. The scream that echoed from the woods only solidified the gravity of our ordeal. Safe at home, our parents, visibly shaken, gathered to share a unanimous decree: we were never to go near those woods again. The unanswered questions lingered, haunting my thoughts. What lurked in that basement? Why did it give chase? The incident left me with more questions than answers, and each passing day only fueled my curiosity, perpetually wondering about the sinister secrets hidden within those forbidding woods. In the crisp fall of my 8th grade year, I found myself embarking on the usual school trips that marked the culmination of our time at that quaint school in Burlington, Ontario. The routine was predictable: a fall camping trip near the city and a spring excursion to Ottawa, rich with museum visits and city exploration. However, this particular year, a surprise awaited us: a third trip, a camping escapade just 4 miles from the majestic Algonquin Provincial Park. The camp was nestled near one of the park's serene lakes, evoking the essence of a classic summer camp. Cabins, scattered amidst the woods, followed the expected separation of boys and girls. The girls' cabins, closest to the lake, nestled in the forest, were an idyllic setting. My group, occupying the largest but most uncomfortable cabin, grappled with antiquated windows boasting thin bug screens and a door that refused to close properly. As someone who had never been keen on camping, this first experience did little to change my perception. The initial evening unfolded around the mess hall, where we gathered for a seemingly fun nighttime activity. The counselors spun a tale about a hermit dwelling nearby, and our task was to venture to his abode in small groups. The activity felt random to many, but we all participated, keeping up the energy as we wound our way through the woods to the hermit's log cabin. Though nothing seemed amiss during our outing, reports from other groups hinted at eerie encounters: a lurking figure in the darkness and a pair of glowing blue eyes haunting the woods. I dismissed these tales as mere attempts by the counselors to spook us. Later that night, as the camp lay enshrouded in silence, I was startled awake by the sound of hurried footsteps approaching our cabin. Panic gripped me momentarily, only to be replaced by the notion that it could be an animal wandering past. The gravel outside my cabin echoed with each cautious step, and I strained my ears, realizing the soft sounds were distinctly human. Positioned right next to the door, I shuddered, anticipating its slow creak open. But it never did. The unseen presence lingered outside, a phantom in the night. I lay there, paralyzed with fear, as the intruder eventually retreated towards the woods. Dismissing it as a late-night stroll by the hermit, I drifted back into an uneasy sleep, the mystery of the night lingering in my thoughts. The remainder of the trip unfolded against a relentless backdrop of non-stop rain, dampening the spirits of the campers. A few succumbed to the flu, and an air of unease lingered. I couldn't fathom an explanation for the eerie encounter that night. A year later, my sister embarked on the same trip with her class. They, too, engaged in the hermit's dwelling activity, but nothing out of the ordinary occurred. Yet, she recounted an incident while exploring the woods with friends, an encounter with the hermit. He sat on a log in the distance, a real figure rather than a tale concocted by counselors. Though not the stuff of horror novels, the realization that the hermit was indeed real, and that he might have prowled outside our cabin in the wee hours, left me unnerved. A decade has passed since that trip, and I've yet to summon the courage for another camping adventure. The mystery of that night lingers, forever etched in my memory. About 2 years ago, I embarked on a new chapter in my life, moving an hour and a half away from home for the very first time. The transition led me to a peculiar setting, a children's activity camp nestled deep in the woods. As fate would have it, all the staff members, including myself, cohabited in 2 colossal cabins. Picture this, 40 people in each, with 2 or 3 to a room. The camaraderie was intense, everyone forming tight bonds over shared experiences. Naturally, our living arrangement cultivated an atmosphere of trust. No one bothered to lock their doors. After all, we were a close-knit community, and our rooms were akin to shared spaces. We'd flit in and out of each other's rooms, forging connections and friendships. The camp wasn't just a workplace, it was a communal haven where we collectively embraced the joys and challenges of working with kids. My primary role involved engaging with the children during the day, but come evening, I found myself behind the bar, catering to the staff, teachers, and parents who accompanied the young campers. It was during one of these evening shifts that a peculiar incident unfolded, leaving an indelible mark on my memory. On that particular night, my roommate, Debs, and I were both working at the bar. She wrapped up her shift a couple of hours before I did, deciding to head back to our room to unwind with a book while waiting for me to finish. In the mere 5 minutes it took her to traverse the distance from the bar to our cabin, a sequence of events began to unfold that would plunge us into an unnerving mystery. As I toiled away at the bar, my phone rang, displaying Deb's caller ID. Expecting to hear her voice, I answered, only to be met with silence on the other end. Writing it off as a butt dial, I nonchalantly hung up. Little did I know that this seemingly innocuous call would soon serve as a precursor to a disconcerting turn of events. Shortly thereafter, another call interrupted the quietude of the night, this time from a friend residing across the hallway. Urgency laced her voice as she instructed me to return to our room immediately. A sense of foreboding gripped me as I hastily sought coverage from a colleague, making my way back to the cabin. Upon arrival, I encountered a scene that defied explanation, a distraught Debs and our belongings scattered haphazardly across the room. This was no ordinary case of theft. The intruder had bypassed laptops, Kindles, a PlayStation, and games, choosing instead to pilfer my undergarments, bras and panties, some clean, some from the laundry basket. The violation left me nauseated, a sense of vulnerability creeping in. Debs recounted the disappearance of her phone, and it dawned on us that the eerie silent calls I received were linked to the theft. The unsettling realization struck us: someone had not only invaded our space but knew precisely whom to call. What confounded us further was the inexplicable reappearance of Deb's phone a few days later, casually perched on the staff lounge windowsill, devoid of any witnesses. We promptly reported the incident to our superiors, only to find ourselves subtly blamed for leaving our door unlocked, a lapse in judgment that, in hindsight, seemed foolish. The days that followed were steeped in discomfort and fear as we grappled with the aftermath of the intrusion. A lingering sense of unease persisted, compounded by the unsettling discovery that our personal space had been violated by an unknown intruder who had, for reasons unknown, targeted the most intimate aspects of our lives. The mystery remained unsolved, and despite the assurances of our superiors, we never unearthed the identity of the perpetrator. To this day, the memory serves as a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that even in the seemingly idyllic haven of a close-knit community, there can exist unseen shadows, grotesque specters that exploit trust and invade the sanctity of personal spaces. The lesson learned was clear: never underestimate the presence of those lurking in the shadows, and always secure the doors against the unknown, for there are, indeed, gross creepers among us. A valuable lesson etched itself into my memory a couple of years back, teaching me never to leave my door unlocked. It all started when my friend Kate invited me to a party, one thrown by her old friend Susan. Kate and Susan had drifted apart during high school, as Kate ventured into the realm of public education, crossing paths with me. Susan, however, stuck to her Catholic roots in high school. Despite the growing distance, Kate thought it would be a great idea for me to accompany her to Susan's birthday bash. Susan's parents had rented out a cabin for her birthday festivities, a repeat of the previous year's success. Nestled in isolation, surrounded by woods with no other cabins in sight, the location set off a few alarms in my mind. It was winter, and the emptiness of the surroundings added a layer of eeriness to the setting. Yet, the prospect of meeting new people and the promise of a good time overshadowed any reservations. As Kate and I approached the cabin in the pitch-black night, our phones became our guiding lights. Once inside, everything seemed normal. Susan, the birthday girl, was having a blast, surrounded by a lively crowd. However, an odd division emerged among the partygoers, something Kate and I failed to comprehend fully. Amidst the festivities, my attention was drawn to a guy with the name of our city tattooed messily across his neck, a curious choice, and a source of both amusement and concern for us. Strangeness unfolded when a decision was made to ask some individuals to leave the party. Apparently, they had been indulging in alcohol without contributing any of their own. The main group concocted a plan, claiming that a ranger would visit, enforcing a limit on the number of cars and people allowed near the cabin. It worked, and the unwanted guests departed. Just as relief settled in, chaos erupted. The lone girl from the departing group burst back in, loudly proclaiming her desire to wish the birthday girl well. Within moments, the sound of shattering glass echoed through the cabin as windows in the back rooms were violently smashed. Panic ensued. People screamed and shouted. Confused and bewildered, I found myself caught in the midst of a party that had descended into chaos. The girl who had invited the troublemakers revealed a disturbing detail: she suspected one of them had a gun. Fear gripped the room, and my mind struggled to process the unfolding nightmare. The majority of us huddled inside the cabin, a few brave souls venturing outside to check if the troublemakers lingered. As time passed, some decided to leave, despite the lingering fear that the potential gang members might be waiting outside. In the midst of the commotion, 3 girls, initially planning to spend the night, gathered their belongings and headed for the exit. As they stepped outside, a scream pierced the air, causing them to rush back in, wide-eyed and trembling. Fortunately, it was just a new arrival expressing excitement, but the scare added another layer of tension to an already chaotic night. Kate and I stayed at the cabin for a couple of hours, reluctant to leave Susan alone. Most people had left by then, and only a handful remained. Eventually, with the assurance that some were staying the night, Kate and I made our exit around 2 a.m. The idea of calling the police was debated, but the specter of underage drinking and Susan's concern about her parents discovering the party led to a collective decision to remain silent. Susan chose to concoct a tale about the broken windows to shield herself from the repercussions. As Kate and I left, we couldn't shake the fear that the potential gang members might return. Luckily, that night passed without any further incidents, leaving us with a chilling tale of a birthday celebration gone awry, a cautionary reminder never to leave doors unlocked, especially in the company of strangers and potential creepers.